Joe Ganji, 1998, Yarnell Road. This is a pretty hot mic. This is pertaining to the Zero Yarnell Road subdivision application by Carmelo Pacone. And this went through the Board of Commissioners meeting about 2 or 3 meetings ago. And I was informed today that there was a reapplication for a different building planning module, whatever it's called, on that property. And when I asked to get a copy of the new application, I was told that I can't get a copy of it because it's somehow covered by attorney-client privilege or attorney-attorney privilege or whatever. And this is, I have a 500-foot frontage with this property, and I'm gonna be going to the zoning hearing board, and I wanna know precisely what Mr. Pacone is applying for. I was told that the original application still stands, but I have to ignore certain parts of it, and that there were 2 letters that were exchanged, and there was a Board of Commissioners discussion about this, and there was some kind of a letter between the Board of Commissioners and the zoning hearing board related to this new application. So my main question is, how do I get a copy of the public, this is a public record, the first application I just walked in and got a copy of. This application, apparently you have to file a right to know because it's attorney-client privilege or something of the sort. So that's my question, how do I get a copy of the application? How do my neighbors get a copy?
I'm curious about the, that's all my
So, it would be my policy for anything you should do a right to know request, first and foremost. It's not just calling up or stopping by to ask for it. You should follow the formal process, that way there's a record of who's requested for items and got. I'm just saying, that'd be my policy. I don't know what policy happens here, but if they would ask me, a right to know request should always be submitted. But if you would submit that, you absolutely would have a right to receive those letters and an amended application.
Well, there is the ability to refuse a right to know.
Sure.
And that could happen the day before the zoning hearing board meeting, and I'll still be uninformed. And my point is that the original application was publicly available. The plans were publicly available, and now this has some kind of a veil of secrecy over it.
No, I just told you, if you did a right to know request, you would have a right to it. So there's no veil of secrecy or anything like that. You would have a right to get that document. So what has happened, there's an amended application that was filed. They removed the variance request for access to the, I think it's 35-foot wide strip from that, and they're only asking for the special exception to develop it as a residential single-family home.
Right, so where do I get that in writing?
Do a right to know request.
Okay, so our right to know request denied.
Yep, that's the advice you're gonna get.
Our right to know request denied. They can be denied, right?
Your 3 minutes is up.
Okay.
I also have something to say about Yarnell Road, 0 Yarnell Road. My name is Josephine Klaas. I live at 2086 Yarnell Road. I also agree with Mr. Ganji on this, and I would like to also have a copy of that paper. Here is the original for the 35 foot. I'd like to know where the 50 foot is. His property abuts my property. I have a right to know exactly what is going on due to the issues with water drainage. Also, I have this map. This was back, I got this back in April. It was dated 1/30/23. There was a recent map that just recently came out, of course, and it is also dated January 30th, 2023, which is the latest one. Each map is different.
We're not the applicant, you should go to the zoning hearing board.
I will be there.
Ask the applicant that question.
I will be there, but I just think that I should have the right to know what's going on with the property that is behind me. Thank you.
We're not the property owner.
Rich Comer, 1303 Farmington Avenue. I just wanted to thank Chief of Police and Don for the great job they did with the traffic, with the road being closed on Farmington Avenue. I'd also like to thank the road crew. The road crew has a wonderful boss. He was down in the hole, he was working, and the road crew they all work, because the boss works. The boss doesn't sit on his butt, they all work, and that's what we need.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Chad.
Jim Kapinski, 1958 Yarnell Road. If you look at the minutes that were approved this evening, you'll see that I made a comment on the alternate site report for the municipal complex. My comment was actually, seeing that the alternate site committee no longer exists, and I think I'm correct on that, right? What happens to the report? And at the last meeting, I suggested that all 5 commissioners look at the report, pick an alternate site, and report back to the taxpayers that paid for the report. In addition, I really think it's time that the township has a meeting, the commissioners with the residents, to update us on the new municipal complex. There's now articles, Evan did a great article on the Mercury, that talks about the one building itself costing over $8 million, not counting the next 2. Is that true? I think the township should have a meeting with the commissioners, with the residents, and allow residents to ask questions, so there's not rumors out there. I think we all know that it's not 1.2 acres that the new complex can be put on, but that's what's out there. Please have a meeting, and please, I'm addressing the commissioners. I'd appreciate if the commissioners would at least look at me. We're told to address the commissioners, like, Mr. President.
Jim, you done?
I am now, thank you.
Thank you. Others? Commissioner comments? Don, you had something?
I'm just gonna read, real quick on Yarnell Road. The last documents I saw on that is Mr. Ganji did say it was a couple months ago. And I didn't miss anything. Anything recently came out.
Just to clarify, so the board reviewed 2 documents. Okay, they reviewed the planning module for Zero Yarnell Road, which you approved to be submitted to DEP. DEP has the final say. The second thing you reviewed was an application to the zoning hearing board filed by Mr. Pacone for a variance to use the 35-foot access strip and a special exception to construct a single-family dwelling. You took action on that application to oppose it. In the interim, Mr. Pacone amended his application through a letter to the zoning hearing board, and Eric emailed the commissioners as such. You then decided to withdraw your opposition because he's now using the 50-foot access strip, and he withdrew his variance request. As Eric stated earlier, he still needs a special exception for that application. And what I did tell Mr. Ganji was, because that was a letter between attorneys, meaning our attorney, the zoning hearing board attorney, and the applicant's attorney, I didn't know if it was attorney-client privileged information. Not that he could not get a copy. I said, I believe it's attorney-client privilege, but I'm not sure, and I would have to speak with my solicitor on as such. So I also advised to file a right to know request. So that's kind of where you're at. Now, the application didn't come back to you here, but you withdrew your opposition because with conditions if they do approve the special exception.
So just to clarify the one statement you made there, everything was correct what you said, but I want to make sure it's clear to the public that we didn't decide something in interim. What I try to do is clarify as to what the commissioners were opposed to initially. And what they were opposed to initially was the variance for the access strip, not really to the single-family use of that 10-acre piece of property. I think the commissioners realize or recognize that there's a right to use a piece of property, and then single-family home is probably the least intrusive use of a piece of property. So what I did is clarify that so that I made clear to the applicant that if they got rid of the variance relief, we would get rid of our opposition.
Correct. And we also use their application's own words about the spray irrigation system, that there will be none. We made that as a condition.
I did, is what I clarified more in my subsequent letter, the most recent letter, was that we withdraw our opposition, but however, with the single-family use, we wanted to make sure that they comply with all stormwater requirements and that no spray irrigation, sanitary sewer system gets utilized on that piece of property. So we did request that of the zoning hearing board, that if they would grant a special exception, they would attach those as conditions.
Okay, good. So, Mr. Ganji, I will keep an eye out for it, and, again, just keep us updated on that, as you usually do.
Yes.
Second comment, and they're very minor. A couple months ago, I had mentioned that someone had threatened the manager at a meeting, and, that still has not come to resolution. I did find out recently that, again, the manager was threatened along with another commissioner. I would ask people to please be careful what you wish for. I don't understand why people have to get threatened. We certainly can disagree, but threatening is, it's not, that's the line in the sand that I will not let anybody penetrate. Second, Mr. Kapinski just asked about a site study. We just got the site study today in the mail, email. So I don't see, I don't know if that was approved for public release, but the site study's there, and it is detailed. Maybe we can talk about that, but I don't see why that wouldn't be a public document. Anything else? That's all I have.
Yeah, I'd just like to make one comment. I just would like to say to Mr. Miller.
Your microphone's not working?
Thanks for, can you hear me?
No, it's not working.
There you go.
There you go.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Miller for the last 25 years of service that he gave up to Pottsville Township, and just wanted to say thank you, much appreciated.
I agree.
Sorry.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, you did, yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to make a comment to the public. I've noticed on our police report, there's still identity theft going on. So if people can be mindful of that. I shouldn't even say that I've never had it happen, knock on wood, laminate. But from the friends that I know that have been bothered by that, it's a real nightmare to get through. And just as a comment to the rest of the board and to the chief, I don't know if there's a way we could make just some of the theft items aware, published for the public. Just, we don't have to go into detail, just like in the area of, just so people could be aware where there's been some activity. Yeah.
This is the majority, this is.
Yes, yes. And, as just a word of caution from what I see, make sure you lock your cars at night. That's, yeah.
I'll just opine on that. It doesn't only happen to the elderly. I am a victim of identity theft, and it's been a nightmare for me. And they even got through the ID Me government-issued security for Pennsylvania unemployment compensation by uploading my driver's license and a selfie. Don't know how they bypass that, but you give your driver's license almost every time you go for a doctor's appointment. So, and your date of birth.
Okay, Commissioner comment, done? Okay, very good. Anything else in executive session? Okay. All right, we're gonna go into executive session and no action expected. Right. All right, thank you, everybody.